What's up, everybody? Super stoked to be diving into this conversation. We're getting close to KubeCon, getting close to DOK Day. And for a lot of folks, if it's their first KubeCon or second, if it's in person or online, just want to go over some practical tips to make sure you're making the most out of this exceptional event that we kind of divides our year based on one or the other. And to do that properly, very excited to have two amazing people with me today, Jennifer and Anais. If you could just quickly introduce yourselves so we get to know you a little bit better. I'm sure many folks know who you are, but for those who don't, we can start with you, Jennifer.
Hi, I'm Jen. My pronouns are she, her. You can find me at JK Riggins on Twitter, LinkedIn. I'm not on the more hip, cool socials because I'm a working mom, so who has time or energy? And probably I'm most relevant in the KubeCon space for the new stack, which I've written for a long time. And I'm a tech storyteller. So I like to say I write about tech, I talk about tech, I don't tech. So I hope y'all enjoy KubeCon, whether it's your first time or first time in person.
All right, sounds good. And very much identify with your explanation of not doing tech, but being in it and getting to interact with all the wonderful folks that are part of our ecosystem. Mm-hmm. Next up, we've got Anais.
Hi. My name is Anais. I'm the open source developer advocate at Acri Security. My pronouns are also she, her. I'm mainly active on Twitter. You can find me there at Riggins Anais if you have any questions, if you just want to reach out or stay in contact. And what I'm mainly, known for, what I've done in the space is a challenge called 100 Days of Kubernetes. So I got started in the cloud native space about 2 years ago and started a challenge where I shared all of my learning online.
Very good. And today we'll be doing something similar, sharing learnings online, focusing on the KubeCon experience. So Jen, in your case, what was the first KubeCon that you attended and how was it?
I can't even remember because it's been online for so long. My first and only in-person experience was Valencia, the European one this year. It was very hot. It was very good. It was also a kick in the stomach for someone that tends to be more COVID safe. It's a lot. These are huge conferences. So especially if you've not done a lot of conferences, I think it is something to prepare yourself for, whether it's online or in person. The problem with online is it's great. Everyone can join. It's way more affordable. It's a way for people to join. We've gotten out of these habits where we take days off or have like study days at work and things like that. So we tend to do other work while we're doing our work, while we're live streaming. And that's a bad habit we got into because of COVID, because, well, you're at home anyway. You don't need to take time off. You can just watch it later or watch it live. So I think balancing everything is the most important part. When you're at an event, self-care, don't get FOMO. You're going to miss out on stuff. Just deal with that. And then also take time off. Schedule that into your day, but schedule time off, not schedule in time to do your job, which you are also doing your job there or trying to do a job when you're there. So I think whether you're online or in person, just about everything's being recorded and published on the YouTube later. I said the YouTube. I am ancient, I'm feeling lately. But yeah, I think it can be very overwhelming. So definitely make sure that you know what's recorded or not. Make sure you're using the website in the right way because the website's never been great. The schedule's not great. The schedule's not very easy to use. So double check that everything's doing the right time zone. You're filtering by the time zone that functionality is working. If not, tell in the Slack community. I think it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of conference. So be aware of that and just plan for you, plan fun, plan to go outside if you're in person or online. These are wild things. Go for a walk, explore where you live or in Detroit.
Absolutely. Very, very good points. Very practical. And like you said, you're not going to get to everything. And it's going to be something we'll mention more than once throughout this conversation. And just as with everything else in life, plan those self-care breaks, get the balance in there, make sure you're drinking water. It's never healthy to sit in front of a screen for 15 hours, whether it's KubeCon or anything else. Those are, and like you said, whether it's in person or online. Having done both, I would say that in both situations, I just got to the point where it can be a little bit overwhelming. Anais, in your case, was your first KubeCon experience online or was it in person?
It was online. And my first in-person one was also the previous one, the EU one in Valencia. And it's funny that Jennifer mentioned it was so hot because I just remember the freezing rooms there. I was looking for a hoodie the first day and I had a hoodie on and I was looking for an extra hoodie I could put on because it was so cold. So if you're there in person, make sure to get a scarf and jacket and everything. Yeah.
And apart from that, any tips that you would offer?
Yes.
Temperatures are important because the last thing you want to do is spend your KubeCon being sick or coughing.
Exactly. I got sick. So don't do that. Yeah. I mean, Jennifer mentioned so many amazing points. The first virtual one that I attended was the North America one at the end of 2020, which was very exciting. Now, I think especially after experiencing the in-person one, I would suggest everybody to download the app with the schedule because it makes things a lot easier than the online schedule. Like when you're walking around or also when we're watching from home, it is a lot clearer on the app and it's easier to filter through the events and see by time. At least that was my experience. Otherwise, I think talks are amazing. But again, like mentioned, talks are going to be recorded. So make sure you only watch those talks where you know you really want to ask questions and get involved because there's going to be a lot of talks anyways. When I watched when I attended virtual, I watched lots and lots of talks and I think I watched way too many and my schedule was packed and I couldn't really even absorb all of the talks. And in the end, I forgot what I even listened to versus at KubeCon in person, I just attended like 6 talks throughout the 3-day event, which I think is much healthier. So really do prepare your schedule before. And I think that's a good thing to do. But at the same time, don't plan out your conference because things are going to be completely different. Like you plan for one thing, right? And then it's going to be completely different once you watch virtual or once you attend in person. And again, there are lots of networking events, also lots of different Slack channels, also lots of companies have Slack channels where they just specifically for KubeCon, there are YouTubers who post live streams, who do watch parties and similar. So you can find also these other ways to network and engage. And then there are also official networking and mentoring events as well that you can attend. So I would really invest into these networking sessions and ways to meet people and to engage with other attendees. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the powerful things about this is the chance to meet so many people. Also, as both of you are saying, you're only going to be able to do so much, whether it's online or in person. And so if you're curious about that, if you have doubts, think about the topics that you're interested in. You can search the schedule by keywords. You can also look at co-located events, things of that nature to find the things that are going to be most relevant. And as what you said, think about the talks where you already have a question or where you're going to have some questions for the speaker so you can get them out and get those answered. If you want to follow up, you can do so on Slack, whether it's Slack or virtual booths or things like that for those that are attending online. There's a lot going on in KubeCon, so if you don't get an immediate response, don't worry. Just maybe give yourself a reminder. I would say not even a week, but better 2 weeks, because after KubeCon, everyone's pretty tired. So you can follow up on those conversations later on, but these are good points. Now, something that comes up time and time again, whether it's in KubeCon or also in KCDs, is the CNCF's Code of Conduct. Jen, can you just give us a bit of an overview of that, why it's important and why it needs to be a living, breathing document in the context of these events?
I love codes of conduct. They are, time and again, we are an open source activity. So while the tech community as a whole has a lot of diversity problems, open source has a lot more because it's a lot of people doing voluntary work. And a lot of people minoritized by tech or the world don't have a lot of free time. So it's even more important. We also have people being brought together that maybe haven't been around a lot of people a lot lately. So it can be very overwhelming, things like that. I think, I know we all we have our cookies thing. And when we have a cookies thing, we accept or don't accept. I don't care. When there's an update on my iPhone, I'm like, scroll. So the phone thinks I read it, but I didn't. A code of conduct is not like that. This is not just a legal document that we probably wouldn't understand anyway. It's written in such a way that everyone understands. And there are specific people you talk to. There's specific ways to communicate with people. And it should be the thing they're checking. I would hope on Slack, in my experience, it is the thing they're usually most responsive with, because that's essential. If you're not sure if something's code of conduct violation, report it. I think err on the side of, if you see, it's to quote the London Transit, if you see something, say something, sorted. Anything, and it doesn't just mean you, anything that makes you feel uncomfortable that you witness, do it. This makes it safe for everyone. Hopefully, then CNCF will do its due diligence and actually act on it. This is not a place to pick up people. Just something, because I've known so many women who have been hit on, groped through this event, whether it's DM'd while they are giving a keynote, being asked out, DM'd on Twitter, or it's being at one of the events. The code of conduct impacts everything. We're not just talking about not saying something bigoted during a question or a talk. It impacts any co-located event. It impacts the entire Slack community the entire time. Take this seriously. And also welcome it, because it makes you feel safer. It makes the community safer. It is a massive community. Like, I think 80,000 people just in the Slack community. Also, sign up for the Slack and then immediately turn off all notifications, because you don't want a Slack community of 80,000 people.
Tip there. Definitely do that. Notifications on.
But this is a wonderful thing, because of code of conduct helps you feel safe. And it should be something, I believe, as soon as you log into Slack, you get a ping notification, sent a link to the code of conduct. You will get it sent in all your messages, all your reminders in the app. Thankfully, they're reminding you they're doing the work. Just do the work to be a good person and help other people be a good person too.
Absolutely agree. And I think like you said too, when in doubt, just ask. If you're not sure, and go to Slack and say, hey, I think I have a question about the code of conduct. Something came up, whatever. Could someone please help me? You will be directed. You don't need to worry about, chain of command and things like that. If you like you said, follow the London transportation, sort of steps, it's really simple, and people will be, very willing and eager to help you out with that. And I guess anything that you'd like to add about that regarding online or in person, because I think it's good that Jen mentioned both environments that these things can happen. Anything that you'd like to add in your experience, or things that you would recommend for folks that are perhaps attending for the first time?
Totally. I think what Jen mentioned, and just reiterating on that, it's really about, the code of conduct is about empowering you to speak up for yourself, but also speak up for others. That's really why it's there for. So you can ask for the space, and you can also have a process and something that you can do, basically steps, if you see that somebody else is uncomfortable as well, and help them to ask for their space back and be respected by other community members. And that's why it's so important that there is a code of conduct, and that we iterate on it, and just share that it's there for you to help you and help other attendees as well. Yeah.
Very good. And we'll obviously be sharing the links in here too, so that people have direct access. Because as you mentioned, Jen, is that it's something that we all click on terms and conditions and cookie policies and things like that. But, read it. All right. Seriously, read it. Like, it's not a joke. And it's something that's really important, that makes this community different from others. And as you said as well, both of you are saying that it's there, to protect ourselves, to protect each other, and to remind us about what it is that brings us together, and that there are certain things we do not tolerate, that perhaps in other spaces might have a different approach, but there is a specific one here. And as Jen mentioned as well, it's not just within the confines of KubeCon, but also co-located events, after parties, things like anything like that. It seems that that you're not sure about. Like I said, when in doubt, just get in there and ask. And in addition, with Slack, use it to reach out and ask questions. Other things that we want to keep in mind. So both of you mentioned, there are talks, there are lots of them. They will be on YouTube afterwards. So if you have a particular connection with a speaker, with a maintainer, where you really have a question that you would really like to be answered, yes, it's a great idea. Other opportunities for networking. We can talk about Slack. We can also talk about it in person. regarding Slack opportunities to network or online opportunities to network, Jen, what's your experience been there? Any recommendations, do's or don'ts you'd like to share?
What's good about KubeCon is, first of all, when you're looking to connect with speakers or to other attendees of a specific session, that maybe it's around a certain theme or something, that's a really good opportunity because they typically have it organized. You'll see popping up. This is the largest Slack community I've been involved in, and I'm within at least 20 Slack communities, but this is, again, 80,000 people. But so you really have to browse your channels ahead, but there are channels pretty much for every talk to continue the conversation. So then, there's channels for every, what would it be called? Like the line, and if you were looking at a agenda, what would that word be? Like the track, things like that. So they deeply encourage the speakers to come, but any attendees to join that. That's really nice. There's also, don't forget, like there's a chat functionality within the app or the platform that the conference is run from. Also easier to use the agenda through the platform usually than through the agenda. Is just always very finicky, notoriously. That's probably the easiest way and then there's just, don't forget to introduce yourself. The hallway channel exists in the community because of that. I'm mentoring. It's really exciting. I'm getting paid a mentorship. I always recommend paid for work. And for students from the University of Tennessee in a DEI in open source, diversity, equity, inclusion in open source software course they're doing, which is very cool. And the first thing I had them do was join the Slack community and introduce themselves and the hallway track and ask a question that they were interested in researching. That's a great way to introduce yourself anyway. I wouldn't really necessarily add links to introduce yourself or X them out so they don't preview the links because no one wants to see a cluttered Slack community. But that's a great way to start the conversation. And then I would always suggest, unless it's someone you know, I wouldn't DM them until you've made a connection with them. So in a public setting, that is not necessarily required by the code of conduct, but I think that is a good conduct to create a safe space for people, especially those marginalized by tech, but in general. So you just don't want to fill people. And also with open source, asking questions in a more public space, people are ready to run and answer a question for you. So that just makes it easier than putting the pressure on that one speaker who may have other talks and be working a booth, et cetera, at that time. You're opening up so other people can help and answer each other as well. And you may make greater connections that way.
Very, very good points. And like you said, a little bit of respect goes a long way in a Slack environment. DMing somebody often might seem like it's a sales approach or many other things that might make someone a little bit uncomfortable. So if you get those genuinely curious questions out in the open, people are going to be really excited to answer them. And there is a collectively strong energy of folks attending KubeCon in general, and the Slack channel is no exception. So you'll see a lot of activity there. Pretty easy place to go and introduce yourself. Like you said, minimizing links, showing more about interests and what you're interested in doing. A lot of people will be checking in every day just to say hi and greet others that are coming in. So you have that was a piece of advice on the online side. On the offline side, Anais, could you talk about that a little bit more? And also, could you mention the mentoring sessions?
Sure. So on the offline side, there are going to be lots of different opportunities to network, and you might feel at some point kind of a fatigue from it as well, because obviously you're going to meet people everywhere. When you go onto the showrooms to talk to the sponsors and to the different exhibitors, call them exhibitors, they're like the different companies that are there, that are present, whether open source or enterprise. There are going to be lots of things that you can talk about, lots of people to meet. Also, the lunch breaks. The lunch breaks, coffee breaks are an amazing opportunity to network. When you see a group of people who have a conversation or like somebody standing on the side, go up to them, introduce yourself, right? Lots of people are going to be there to interact, to also meet new people. Now, I think the previous KubeCon had also like on their badge, like a tag of like whether people want to talk to you, right? And like also the kind of topics they want to talk about. For example, I had on my badge like ambassador, and then just some of the technologies that I'm interested in listed as well. So people knew what kind of topics they can talk to me about, right? And that always gives like a conversation starter as well. Otherwise, just ask them what what are people there for? What are they interested in, right? What kind of talks they have been listening to. This little effort, I guess, to introduce yourself and just say hi goes a long way. And lots of people will be very thankful for somebody taking that step as well, right? Now, what else? There are also going to be lots of events, networking events after the sessions that are great to attend. What else? And on Friday, there's an official mentoring session, both in person, but also virtual. So you can attend there as well. It's mentoring and networking. So you can meet other people. You can talk more about the different opportunities that are available to get involved in the space. Before that, especially like if you are attending the co-located events, there's also going to be maintainer sessions and different project sessions. So if you're interested in particular CNCF projects, they are likely going to have a meeting around KubeCon, either before or during somewhere. So you can also check out their GitHub organizations and see where those projects are meeting, and you can meet the maintainers there likely as well. Those are some ways that I like to meet people and like that and find out where the conversations that I'm interested in taking place. What else? Did I forget something?
Those were great. They had those ribbons you were talking
about.
Yeah,
they had those ribbons. Exactly. They were big. Yeah.
The entire CNCF universe, they were color-coded. It was just awesome. There should be something that we try to do something very similar for online, that maybe you could add like an emoji for each group or whatever. That's very interesting. That was really cool. I believe this was also an event. Well, it definitely had pronoun stickers. So use them. The Slack of KubeCon has the ability to add your pronouns in your profile. Do that. They also had other stickers, communication stickers, which kind of says, hey, I'm open. I'm here to network. I want to meet people. Hey, I only want to talk to people I know. Hey, I want to be the one that chooses to talk to people. And then beyond that, like if people wearing headphones or something, take these physical signals to understand who wants to be spoken to or not. And don't forget about just being a good audience member too. If you have the ability, sit closer to the front. If you are comfortable, I think they also had different colored lanyards that help signify for the photographer if you want your photo taken or not, things like that. But if you're comfortable with that, because especially don't sit towards the front, be an active listener, smile, clap, things like that go a long way, especially because some people haven't done a talk in 2 years, 3 years. And it's just can be exhausting if people are just in the back. I know we want to be on our computers, but another tip I have, and this may be because, again, I write about tech, I'm not tech. When it's a more technical talk, I wait for the recording, which is usually almost immediate in this event, not all events, but in the app, it's usually almost immediate, because when it's something technical, I want to be able to pause and rewind. I may still join if I want to bring a question or something, but you can also join that thread later on Slack if you want to ask a follow-up question. But anything that involves something that I really want to know about, and there may be other stuff that I really want to join and I want to amplify that message. Like for me, DEI or accessibility topics, things like that, I want to then live tweet about and take pictures and amplify that very soon. Pictures with alt text, of course. We get very lazy at conferences and we forget things like alt text because we're taking pictures of screenshots of technology. So those takes the extra step. But I think when you're trying to balance what you want to do, if you want to focus on networking, especially if you're getting a job, focus on that. You can always see the talks afterwards in the platform. So I would suggest if you want to make a connection, make a mentorship, networking, make those your priorities. If you just want to take talks, go to talks, but figure out what your greatest priority is, because the talks will always be recorded later. But if you're going to go, be an enthusiastic audience, an active audience.
Absolutely.
Laugh out loud.
Yeah, the thing is, it's for anybody giving a talk, no matter how experienced they are, they want to feel that they're being noticed, that people are paying attention, that there's engagement and interest. So if you're comfortable, move towards the front. tell somebody afterwards that they gave a good talk, whether it's in person or online, that you enjoyed it. As a speaker, just getting that basic validation is huge. And so you can give the gift of giving. And I think that's a really, really good thing to do. With both these points about as well, too, regarding having a clear agenda about, okay, do I want to consume a lot of technical content? Remembering that it's also going to be on YouTube and quite quick. In the last one in Valencia, I think within a week, most of the videos were already uploaded. So to YouTube, at least from the main KubeCon talks, not necessarily the co-located events. But another thing to keep in mind, as Anais was mentioning regarding the mentoring session, it'll be online as well as in person. I've done both, and both have been amazing. And as a mentee as well as a mentor, and generally it's quick sessions where people go around quickly and introduce themselves, explain maybe a particular challenge they're having or something that they're working on, and then the mentors as well as the other mentees give amazing advice. And it's it's just a very positive environment that I think for me is one of the things that characterizes KubeCon in general, is a lot of very positive energy. Yes, there is also the enterprise side of things of companies trying to promote things. But for me personally, the best part is being able to connect with people. People are very generous. It's just a really, really good vibe. And that's what I encourage people to enjoy as much as they can. That being said, we're getting towards the end. I just want the two of you to think about what have been some of your biggest, KubeCon highlights, some moments that you think stand out, and experiences that you perhaps hope that other people would have. We start with you, Jen.
Put me on the spot. Well, the most important KubeCon experience for me was in Valencia, meeting the majority of my teammates from the new stack that majority I haven't met, and I've been working with them for over 7 years. So it's an opportunity when you have met people online to meet people in person. Oh, and also my kind of mentee, but now friend, Divya Mohan, someone who right before COVID, we started doing stuff online. She's based in India, and we've got to see each other. We actually got to see each other last week as well at the wonderful DevOps Days conference in London. It's an opportunity to meet people that you don't get to see otherwise. And that is a difference. Other than that, I love a panel. I love any of these. Especially because of how unbelievably in person, how predominantly white and male KubeCon is, and it is staggeringly so. Joining these DEI events are wonderful. They are amazing and they lift you up. So I definitely recommend all of those. And those tend to be, if there's a panel, et cetera, they're not always posted on YouTube afterwards, which is kind of upsetting. They're the ones that don't get the cut always. Those are just great events. And if you're in person, eat your heart out. You paid for this ticket, or your company paid for this ticket. Definitely eat, enjoy the food, enjoy your time there. And of course, don't forget to explore the city. I've not been to Detroit, but it's supposed to be an amazing city. So don't forget to do the things that aren't just tech or
Absolutely.
your day job while you're trying to scram about.
Absolutely. I definitely recommend that. And also, if you have the ability to do so, if you're attending in person, try to at least maybe give yourself half a day before everything starts, just to look around, see a few different things. Because if not, if you're in a conference center, you could be anywhere in the world. Most conference centers are the same. There's lots of rooms, and there's really not much to it in terms of enjoying or being able to interact with locals and understand more about local culture. So if you have the ability to do so, please do that. If not, if you're attending virtually, still take the time to learn a little bit about the city, and maybe ask in Slack, if people are from there, anything that you can get from that. One of the beautiful things about this community is being global, and I really encourage people to try to take advantage of that as much as possible. Anais, what special KubeCon moments would stand out for you, and any recommendations you might have regarding them?
Yes, I completely second what Jen just said, that, for example, the last KubeCon was the first event where I actually got to meet my teammates live in person, which was very exciting since I'm completely remote. Now, besides that, there are lots of people at KubeCon, both virtually and in person, who are creating, I guess, special content and special moments at the conference. And one of my favorite moments was actually by Jen being asked at the last KubeCon about what my definition for cloud native actually is. And in that moment, I just said, without thinking much about it, it's the community, because this space is built by the community, maintained by the community, right? By open source contributors, engineers, community members, such as everybody listening right now, right? And I think that's very special. And just being able to share that and to think about it, that was just a very, very nice moment, very special moment. And I really encourage everybody, if you're attending also virtually, really try to connect with other attendees. If you see somebody who's working on a technology, on a topic that you find interesting, connect with them directly, because that way you can build long-term like friendships as well, meet other people who might be completely at the other end of the globe, right? Which is very exciting, which is, I think, makes also this community so special. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you on all those points, and I think that that's really what there is to get out of this. Is yes, there's a technical aspect, but those technical aspects will continue in whatever group you happen to be in, whatever SIG you happen to be in. Those meetings will continue afterwards. What you're not going to have necessarily is all these people coming together from so many different parts of the world and being able to be part of their experiences, as well as allowing them to be part of yours. So I think that's for me is a lot of the magic of what KubeCon delivers. And that being said, I thank you both very much for joining us today. I unfortunately won't see you in Detroit, but you'll be with me in spirit. And look forward to seeing you again in London sometime soon. And we'll leave your socials as well so folks can check you out. But if there's anything else you'd like to say before we finish, but with that being said, thank you both very, very much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Yeah, just the one thing I was thinking of which I hadn't thought of, the little experiment I did with what does cloud native mean? We use a lot. We're practically the UN. We use a lot of acronyms, a lot of like K8S, things like that. Let's just try to define ourselves and speak more clearly for especially non-native English speakers and all. But this is exciting because you're right, Bart. This is the best part, the community, not the open source part. We get all fuddled up on the code, but the community is the best part.
Absolutely. Feel that a lot. Excellent. Thank you very much. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.